Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rachel Graham, and I have the pleasure of serving as the chair of the North Carolina Science Fair Foundation, the nonprofit sponsor of the North Carolina Science and Engineering Fair. This is the 34th year of this competition and our second being done virtually. We're proud to be the state affiliate of the Regeneron International Science and Engineering Fair. It's our hope that next March we'll meet in person at our host site, the North Carolina State University's Tally Student Union, for our competition. So watch out for an announcement about that in the future. On behalf of our board, the Science and Engineering Fair Planning Committee, our hundreds of judges and volunteers, and our 9 devoted regional directors, we want to congratulate each of you for being a regional winner and state finalist, and for your initiative to engage in science research and/or the engineering process. Well done. We also want to take a moment to applaud the thousands of teachers, parents, guardians, and grandparents across North Carolina, who during these most challenging of times offered you support and encouragement along the way. Before we recognize our reward recipients, we'd like to take a few minutes to thank our wonderful sponsors who, without their support, this annual event would not be possible. Starting with our presenting sponsor, Biogen Foundation, our platinum sponsors, Burroughs Wellcome Fund, SMT Center, and Red Hat. Our gold sponsors, RTI, Broadcom Foundation, Tunnel, DLH, and Society for Science. Our silver sponsor, Wiley Wilson, and our bronze sponsors, Roe and the Strategic Educational Alliance. And our NCSCF in-kind partners, NC State University, Forager One, Meredith College, Strawbridge Studios, and STEM Wizard. We're also fortunate to have the support of our State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Catherine Truitt. Please enjoy her congratulatory video at this time.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 34th Annual North Carolina Science and Engineering Fair. My name is Catherine Truitt, and I serve as the State Superintendent of Public Instruction. I'm so excited to have the opportunity to join you all virtually and cannot wait to hear about your incredible work on display. First, I'd like to congratulate you all on qualifying for this year's fair. Winning at your regional science fairs and progressing to the State Science and Engineering Fair is no small feat, and you should all be very proud. It's all the more impressive that you are able to compete in a completely virtual event. I know that format has presented challenges for you all, and it's admirable that it hasn't deterred you from making this competition a priority. You should all be proud of yourselves for navigating your way through a virtual environment and making it to this point. What an accomplishment. I'm also elated to see so many students interested in STEM fields, and I can't wait to see what progress our state makes over the next few years in these subjects. Science, technology, engineering, and math are some of the most important foundational skills in life. These fields encourage critical thinking and problem solving, and STEM experts go on to make major developments and contributions to our society, like the COVID vaccine, for example. Your interest in STEM will only open greater doors for you in the future, and today is only part of that journey. This fair is giving you a hands-on opportunity to research your findings like real scientists and engineers. You are learning, exploring, observing, and experimenting in ways that will prepare you for the future. That is incredibly exciting, and I hope you all leave this fair feeling inspired by others and motivated to continue pursuing this path.
Now it's my pleasure to introduce our welcome back our Master of Ceremonies for the Senior Division Awards, Dr. Alonzo Alexander, who is Director of EMITEP and the Kieran Anderson Academies of the Science House here at North Carolina State University. Dr. Alexander.
Thank you so much, Rachel. And I'd like to join with everyone else, extending a welcome to all of you attending virtually, and especially to our student researchers this year. You have been resilient in what has been another unique year, especially in this virtual environment. We want to make sure we also say thank you to the parents and teachers who provided so much support to our student researchers during this time. Thank you, parents. Thank you, teachers. On behalf of the North Carolina Science Fair Foundation, we want to make sure to appreciate Judy Day. She's our long-serving volunteer director of the North Carolina Science and Engineering Fair, and her leadership has been unmatched. And along with our 9 regional directors and the hundreds of judges and volunteers who work throughout the year, they make this event happen. So thank you so much to all of them. We want to also acknowledge North Carolina State University, our host for the North Carolina Science and Engineering Fair. Special thanks go out to Chancellor Dr. Randy Woodson, Vice Chancellor Dr. Danica Scott, and the NC State support team for their senior level support of this event. Now, being virtual isn't new for us, right? We were all here last year, but manning the virtual platform, handling all the programming, dealing with the logistics, it all requires a tremendous amount of attention to detail. And I want to make sure to recognize the Foundation's Executive Director, Teresa Gibson, for all of her service each day and her leadership in working with the planning committee and our board for making this year's fair possible. Thank you all so much for your tireless efforts. Now, before we get to presenting the awards, we want to remind you students that while certain projects will be recognized today, I want to say again, just by advancing to the state competition from your local and regional level, you are already winners in the truest sense of the word. Now, you'll see on the screen a social media slide because we want to make sure that you follow us for any events and postings that we put out there. So if you're on Facebook, we're at NC Science Fair. That's also our handle on Twitter. And of course, if you are youthful, not like me, and you're on Instagram, NC Science Fair is where you will find some of our postings. Also, make sure that as we go through the awards, use the Zoom chat to shout out to your fellow student researchers and congratulate them on a job well done. Before we get to the special awards, we're going to have 2 slides. The first one is for our passport raffle for 2 $25 gift cards, and then a week-long summer accelerator course scholarship provided by the North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics. So those winners of the 2022 Virtual Fair Passport Raffle: Abriana Nicole Risner from Gaston Early College and Maya Roseborough from Isaac Bear Early College. Congratulations to both of you on your win. For the Summer Accelerator, we haven't named the person yet, but we will be letting you know who you are. So be on the lookout for that announcement. Now to our special awards. First, we're going to begin with the American Meteorological Society Award for Outstanding Achievement. And that goes to Sophia Benjamin from the North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics. Meteorological sensitivity to WRF Chem planetary boundary layer parameterization and its impact on ozone prediction during the Lake Michigan ozone study. Congratulations. Next, the American Psychological Association Certificate of Award goes to Cameron Cox from Kinston High School. Paw Preference is the name of that project. The ASM Materials Education Foundation Most Outstanding Exhibit in Materials Award goes to Jacob Rose from the North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics. Development of a bioactive, biodegradable, and variable density 3D printer filament for patient-specific bone reconstructive implants. The Association for Women Geoscientists Student Award for Excellence in Geosciences goes to Caroline Lorio from the North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics. Using phosphate binding clays to mitigate cyanobacterial blooms caused by hog lagoons. The DHL Award for Excellence in Public Health. That goes to Shubhan Bhattacharya from Inlow High School in Raleigh. A precise, portable, non-invasive melanoma detection device using deep learning and imaging. Next, we'll have a quick video from the Girl Scouts North Carolina Coastal Pines.
For more than a century, Girl Scouts has been preparing girls for a lifetime of leadership. Today and always, we're committed to ensuring that all girls, develop to their full potential, and have equal access to and support in STEM education. Girl Scouts provides countless opportunities for girls to jump into STEM and explore their interests and passions with fun, challenging activities like building robots, designing apps, video games, and collecting data to help scientists protect the environment. Because interest in STEM begins early, Girl Scouts Fun with a Purpose curriculum helps bridge that gender gap by ensuring that girls of every age have opportunities to participate in progressive, multi-year STEM experiences. We invite you to explore some of the opportunities we host across our 41 county footprint, including our annual signature event, TechnoQuest, where girls in 4th through 12th grade dive into hands-on learning in space science, engineering, coding, food science, robotics, STEM career exploration, and more. And from everyone here at Girl Scouts North Carolina Coastal Pines, well done you for taking advantage of the opportunity to utilize your skills, knowledge, and curiosity to further explore STEM concepts and own your vision of a world that is limitless. Congratulations, everyone.
Thanks again, North Carolina Coastal Pines chapter of Girl Scouts. The Creating a Better World Award goes to Germayer Kaur from Chapel Hill High School on using foundational CS1 curricula for middle school computer programming education. The Mu Alpha Theta Award goes to Catherine Panabianco, North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics, simulating quantum key distribution in 3 polarization bases. The NASA Earth System Science Award, that goes to Caroline Lorio from the North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics, using phosphate binding clays to mitigate cyanobacterial blooms caused by hog lagoons. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's Taking the Pulse of the Planet Award goes to Reagan Williams of John T. Hoggard in Wilmington. Collective Behavior and Coastal Health, how individual personality influences population mortality in a marsh ecosystem predator-prey interaction. The Regeneron Biomedical Science Award goes to Amy Bujakowski, North Carolina School of Science and Math. Simultaneous classification of 2 degree of freedom EMG signals using a non-convolutional neural network. The RICO's Sustainable Development Award goes to Jay Nimblekar, Green Hope High School. Sustainability Scanner, empowering consumers to make eco-friendly grocery purchases. Outstanding Achievement for Ability and Creativity in vitro biology. And this award is sponsored by the Society for In Vitro Biology. It goes to Emily Lynn of Atkins High School in Winston-Salem. Decellularization of plant tissue to create a viable scaffold. The Society for Science and the Public Award for Community Innovation 2022 goes to Porter Bradshaw of Isaac Bear Early College High School in Wilmington. Salt tolerance of soybean crops. The U.S. Agency for International Development Science Champion Award. That goes to Arvind Deshmukh and Shrithan Gajula of Marvin Ridge High School. Microbial degradation of plastics, a simple and effective solution to the environmental crisis at hand. The U.S. Air Force Award. It goes to Adi Kuchiria, Kirtan Patel, and Slok Patel of Marvin Ridge High School. The Future of Keyboards, a sustainable implementation of piezoelectricity. The U.S. Metric Association Award goes to Davis Hall of the Epiphany School of Global Studies out in New Bern. Antimicrobial effects of natural and artificial honey. The Naval Science Award from the Office of Naval Research goes to Dakota Cornett of Rockingham Early College High School. Farming to Save Our Oceans. Oh, and also Gabriel Mintz of Marvin Ridge High School, a better option for a simple device building a homemade magnetometer with a Hall effect sensor for under $10, and Felicia Yan of Enloe High School, modeling sea level rise driven coastal forest loss and the above ground carbon impacts with remote sensing and machine learning. Next, the Yale Science and Engineering Association Award goes to Jay Nimblekar of Green Hope High School. His project was entitled Sustainability Scanner, Empowering Consumers to Make Eco-Friendly Grocery Purchases. The National Geographic Society, That's Geography, Cultivating Empathy for the Earth Award, goes to Dakota Cornett from Rockingham Early College High School. That project was again titled Farming to Save Our Oceans. Now we'll have a short video from the NC One Water Association.
Hi, my name is Sarah Gibson, and I'm from the North Carolina American Water Works Association and Water Environment Association. Our group is comprised of professionals dedicated to providing water education, leadership, and training to protect public health and the environment in North Carolina. This includes engineers that design drinking water treatment plants, regulators that enforce laws that protect public health and water, operators that run wastewater treatment plants, and so much more. Every year, our group sends judges to every regional fair to look for water-related projects. We give out special awards to celebrate students for their passion and curiosity over water. We're also on the lookout for high school projects that could be contenders for the Stockholm Junior Water Prize, a prestigious international competition. So if you chose to do a water-related project this year, thank you so much, and perhaps you'll be hearing from us in the coming weeks to learn that you have gotten an award from our organization. We look forward to seeing all of you next year in person, where we plan to judge even more water-related projects.
Thank you so much for that, Sarah. Now, the NC1 Water Awards, and remember, each of these students is also nominated for the Stockholm Junior Water Prize competition to represent North Carolina. Starting with the third place finisher, Shashira Somashekar from the North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics, computationally analyzing water distribution networks using machine learning and Internet of Things. Second place goes to Yunjia Chuan, Charlotte Country Day School, neurotoxicity of Gen X, a perfluoroalkyl substance found in drinking water. And first place goes to Rocio Rosa, Audrey Huppman, and Mackenzie Weber from Eastern Alamance High School, the effects of environmental ionic chloride deposits on freshwater species. Congratulations again to all of our special award winners. Now we'll move into our category winners, beginning with biology. So for biological science A, honorable mention goes to Grace Lynn from North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics. Investigation of the combined effects of GSK 1016790A and OPC 31260 on autosomal dominant polycystic kidney disease C. elegans. Third place goes to Andre Gaddy from Gaston Early College of Medical Science, light intensity and its effect on plant growth. Second place, Reagan Williams from John Hoggard, collective behavior and coastal health, how individual personality influences population mortality in a marsh ecosystem, predator-prey interaction. And first place goes to Shelby Ray, North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics, the epigenetic effects of climate change on Itacia. Now for biological science B. Honorable mention goes to Tyree Freeman and Dezoria Sutton from Kinston High School. Does music affect your heart rate? Emily Lynn from Atkins High School, decellularization of plant tissue to create a viable scaffold. Congratulations to those students. Third place, Veda Dayananda, East Mecklenburg High School, quantifying region-specific cortical volumes and a mouse modeling on an autism-associated mutation. Second place goes to Katie Rudins from Carolina Day School. Reading Recall, a comparison of reading comprehension using electronic and paper media. And first place goes to Yunxia Chuan, Charlotte Country Day School. Neurotoxicity of Gen X, a perfluoroalkyl substance found in drinking water. Next, we have chemistry. Honorable mention, Kelly Smith and Zoe Dio from Stuart Kramer in Belmont. Crime scene chemistry, the action of luminol to bloodstain alternative. Third place, Caitlin Zoroval and Lauren Zoroval from Terry Sanford, analyzing the chemical and thermal degradation of novel bioplastic materials by tuning the water exposure time and temperature. Second place, Magana Chamartri, North Carolina School of Science and Math. Selective and cost-effective depolymerization of linear polyethylene via tandem dehydrogenation and metathesis dual catalyst system. And first place goes to Archita Kara, North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics. Computational and experimental design of a novel acetylcholinesterase inhibitor, solanodiols for Alzheimer's disease treatment. In our Earth and Environmental Science category, honorable mention goes to Kshitij Goval from Marvin Ridge High School, Aiden Lee from Marvin Ridge High School, and Aiden McQueen from Nessio School, using DEM derivatives from QuantEnergy LiDAR data to classify wetlands through machine learning. Third place, Logan Tamadon, Isaac Bear Early High School in Wilmington. Biodegradable Breakdown was the name of that project. Second place, Dakota Cornett, Rockingham Early College, Farming to Save Our Oceans. And first place went to Felicia Yan, Enlow High School, Modeling Sea Level Rise, driven coastal forest loss and the above ground carbon impacts with remote sensing and machine learning. Moving on to engineering. Honorable mention, Naraini Garg from South Iredell High School, rotor versus stator. Third place, Rushir Akanamabatu, Cary, Panther Creek High School, omnidirectional eyeglasses. Second place, Jacob Rose from the North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics, development of a bioactive, biodegradable, and variable density 3D printer filament for patient-specific bone reconstructive implants. And first place in that category, Shubhan Bhattacharya, Enlow High School, a precise, portable, non-invasive melanoma detection device using deep learning and imaging. Our next category is mathematics. All right, our next category is physics. Honorable mention, Kyle Hickey, Chatham School of Science and Engineering in Siler City. Does the shape of a car affect the drag coefficient? Third place, Hari Desikhan, North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics, developing novel contrast to noise ratio thresholds for the detection of MCF7 breast cancer tissue in acoustic shadows. Second place, Quentin Luce, Isaac Bear Early College. What type of wood provides the best protection? And first place goes to Catherine Panabianco, North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics, simulating quantum key distribution in 3 polarization bases. Next up, we have technology. Honorable mention in the technology category goes to Rithantija Achan and Arnav Mahajan, Green Level High School, translating sign language using flex sensors and Arduino. Third place, Darya Patel and Riya Patel, Marvin Ridge High School. MedCom, bridging the communication gaps in medical emergency situations. Second place went to Isha Naron, Arjikel High School in Charlotte. VGuard, a facial object recognition-based multimodal framework for unintentional injury prevention. And first place went to Jay Nimblekar, Green Hope High School, Sustainability Scanner, empowering consumers to make eco-friendly grocery purchases. Now we'll move to the mathematics, statistics, and data science category. Honorable mention, Andrew Wang, Panther Creek High School. Demographic indicators of voter shift between 2016 and 2020 presidential elections. Third place, Samanyu Dixit, North Carolina School of Science and Math. Chem informatics analysis of the N-methyl D-aspartate receptor neurotoxicity. Second place, Justin Guo, Sahil Patel, and Maximilian Wong, Isaac Bear Early College. Machine-aided detection of atrial fibrillation through RR intervals. And first place, Harshita Jasti and Isha Patel, Arjikel High School in Charlotte. Breast cancer detection in mammographic images using an ensemble deep learning model. Congratulations to all of our categorical winners. Now I'm going to turn it over to Judy Day, who's going to present our grand awards. Judy?
Good evening. I'm so glad to have all of you here and to tell you that it's been an amazing fair, as it always is. And I've got to read about a lot of really wonderful projects and meet some really neat students. And I would like to give a thank you to a couple of people that may not have been received appreciation yet. But first of all, again, to Teresa Gibson, and I don't know if you realize the many, many hours that she put into it, but running symposium yesterday and keeping us all on task. Dr. Tom Williams, Dr. Chris Ashwell, Susan Morin, Pamela Lovin, Dr. Teresa Soko, Gabby Golly, Dr. Rachel Graham, Dr. Frida Sanders, Tony Rice, and Dr. Alonzo Alexander. I would like to thank you again. In addition to that, students, you met over 100 judges during the past couple of days, and some of those judges dedicated all day Friday and Saturday to judging. So they spent a lot of time because they believe in you and want to spend their time encouraging that next generation. And we're really counting on you to keep on going. Even if you do not win an award today, that does not mean that your projects weren't wonderful and that we really don't think, that we really think you need to continue doing your research and don't stop along the way. That's where the careers are in the future, is in the science, the technology, engineering, and mathematics. I would also like to thank all the volunteers that ran your Zoom rooms, your host and your moderators. And again, without the support of your parents, your teachers, and your school administrators, you would not be able to participate and be as successful as you have been. So again, I would like to put one more thank you to all of those. So now to tell you a little bit about this last grand award. And this is our nomination for students to go to participate in the Regeneron International Science and Engineering Fair. Now, or otherwise known as ISEF. And ISEF pulls about 1,700 projects from about 80 different countries. And with the pandemic last year and this year, it's been an unusual situation. So we will be participating in ISEF, and I would like to read the students that were selected to participate. These students were selected from across all the different categories by a caucus of judges at the end of all the judging, and to be able to come up with the names with a consensus of opinions. But before I go to that, I would like to tell you a little bit about our success last year. Last year, the Regeneron ISEF was virtual, 100%. we sent from North Carolina a total of 17 projects. Now we have 3 fairs that are regional fairs that are affiliated with ISEF in North Carolina. And so they are allowed to send projects to participate in ISEF, as well as the state fair. So we had 1 fair from Region 3, 1 project from Region 3A, 2 projects from Region 3B, and 2 projects from Region 6. And we send 12 projects from the state NCSEF to make the total of 17 projects that were participating last year. Out of those 17 projects, we had 19 students, since there were several teams that were participating. We had a banner year in awards that we received from the research that our students were engaged in. So we received 21 awards. Those went across special awards and category awards, including one that was best of show. And out of that, we all had an extra top award on top of that. The total of the cash amount of the awards that those 21 projects received was over $72,000. And you can see that our grand award winner who received the Regeneron Young Scientist Grand Award, Dr. Daniel Chen from Enloe High School, won $50,000 as a result of the research that he had been engaged in. So ISEF students, now it's your turn that you've been selected. So here is the list. All right, the first student project is Shoban Batarache from Enloe High School in Raleigh. The next project is Archita Kara. The next project is Deepthi Mohanra. The next project is Jay Ninbakar. The next project is Catherine Panabihako. The next project is Harshi Jasti. That is a team project with Ishaha Patel. The next project is Yunshiha Kwan. The next project is Jacob Rose. The next project is Reagan Williams. The next project is Shelby Ray. The next project is Felicia Yan. And the last project is Caitlin Zaravel and Lauren Zaravel. So these 12 projects, we will be first I would like to congratulate you. You will be getting an email from me with an invitation to a Zoom meeting. And I need you to please respond to all emails that I send to you, because we have to get information together and a lot of project changes that formatting that will need to be done before you can submit your registration materials. So please pay attention to any emails that I send out to you. And again, congratulations. And now I think we have a message from our board chair, Dr. Rachel Graham.
Thank you, Judy. And congratulations, ISEF finalists. This is a tremendous achievement for you. I have a brief statement I'm going to read to you now. The North Carolina Science Fair Foundation Board convened this past Wednesday, March 23rd, and discussed whether to support students and chaperones' attendance in person at ISEF in Atlanta in May 2022. ISEF is offering either an in-person attendance or a virtual attendance. And several factors were considered in making this decision, including weighing the guidelines that ISEF has put in place to mitigate the risk of SARS coronavirus 2 transmission among participants and chaperones, the possible requirements for a potentially lengthy quarantine if students or chaperones test positive for SARS-2 infection while in Atlanta, and the emergence of the BA.2 variant of Omicron, which is just beginning to appear in the US and has hit some areas of the world quite extensively, and is putting older and unvaccinated individuals at increased risk of serious illness. What is not known currently and cannot be known for a few weeks still is how this new variant of SARS-2 will spread in the US population, especially as many people have traveled or soon will be traveling away from their local communities for spring vacations for the first time in 2 years. The foundation deemed the risk to students and chaperones greater than the potential benefit of an in-person attendance experience at ISEF this year. And therefore, the board voted not to support in-person attendance of students and chaperones at ISEF for the 2022 competition. However, we will fully support students in the virtual attendance option for ISEF. And with that, I will turn the mic back to Judy for any additional announcements.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, I would like to say that I will be meeting with all of you. We will be reviewing your projects. We will spend time coaching you one-on-one. One-on-two. Usually Dr. Chris Asheville works with me as well. So you will be best prepared for the virtual competition. We will be talking to your schools to make sure that you are able to participate virtually in the judging, which will take place the week prior to the other activities that will be taking place at ISEF. But there are activities during the week of ISEF that we do want you to participate in virtually that will be taking place during your school day. And we will be writing a letter to your principals and your school superintendents to be able to make sure that you will be able to virtually attend all of the events that ISEF will be providing for students that are being selected and for this opportunity. And so now I will turn it back over, and I think you would like, once again, I will turn this back over to Dr. Alonzo Alexander.
Thanks so much, Judy. All right, so those awards were amazing, right? We've got a few final reminders that we want to give you before we send you out for the afternoon. Remember that all the t-shirts and awards and medals will be mailed to your school's principal during the week of April 11th through the 15th. So make sure you're on the lookout for those. And we want to make sure we say one last time, congratulations again to all of our student researchers and to their support networks. And we want to encourage you to continue pursuing STEM research. And we hope and expect to see you all back as future participants in the North Carolina Science and Engineering Fair. Thank you to everyone who made this happen, especially to our North Carolina Science Fair Foundation and our leadership. And we want to make sure that we wish you all well. And as we move forward, we look forward to seeing you all again, hopefully in person in 2023. So make sure you stay up to date with us by following us on social media. Again, we're at NC Science Fair on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram. Thank you again for your participation and for your tremendous, tremendous research. Congratulations. Have a great rest of your day.